everyone, and welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday. It is August 11th, 2022, and this is episode 227. My name is Carol. My Ravelry name is Knits and Pearls, and I live a little ways east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where it's going to be another hot one today. Not as hot as it was a couple of weeks ago, but hot enough. And so I decided to beat the heat of the day and record this morning downstairs here in one of our spare bedrooms, rather than waiting until this afternoon and recording in my craft room, which gets the afternoon sun. It's going to be a fairly short episode today because I only have 2 projects to share with you. I know, who am I? That is unusual for me to be that monogamous, at least with my knitting. But I have just been really enjoying the projects I've been working on and haven't felt a real need to cast on something new. I will say one thing, when you're only working on a couple of things at a time, they really do grow quickly, which can be good and can be bad. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. I do have some acquisitions to share with you this week though, which is a rare occasion this year on this podcast because I declared 2022 the year of the stash and have been concentrating on shopping from stash for most of my projects. And so many of you were interested in doing the same, that I set up a year-long make-along in the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group, where many of you have been taking part. So if you are interested in using up some stash this year, hop on over to the Ravelry group, check out the pertinent information in post 1 of all of the threads. I think I said that a little wrong, but check out all the pertinent threads and read post 1, and that will give you all the information you need to know to take part. One administrative note regarding the make-along is I have not yet heard from the winner of June's Personal Sock Yarn Club chatter thread. So if you took part in the Personal Sock Yarn Club for June, be sure and go and watch last week's episode to see if you are a winner. All right, let's get on with my projects. So first up is my August Personal Sock Yarn Club socks. I am knitting them from this yarn from Ginger Snap. It is the Pixel Mini set in the Hydrangea colorway. See if that can see the light from the window there shining. So the mini set consisted of 2 main skeins of a gradient speckled yarn, and then there were 2 coordinating colors to do heels, toes, and cuffs. So as I explained last week, I decided to do these socks from the toe up, which is not my usual stockinette sock or sock for that, any sock for that matter. I usually knit from the top down, but I wanted to use up as much of this gradient skein as possible, and only have like that much left. So I decided to start from the toe up. I used the green coordinating skein for the toe, and then I've, as you can see, started with the green end of the skein and have worked my way up. I have been working the hybrid socks from this book by Chrissy Gardner called Toe Up. She has a worksheet in here and a little instruction area that explains how to knit toe up socks. If I'm just doing a toe up sock with a short row heel, I don't really need a pattern anymore, but I do for this hybrid sock. So the hybrid sock is basically like a reverse heel flap and gusset. So you, rather than working down, doing your heel flap, heel turn, and then decreasing stitches for the gusset, you are instead increasing stitches, doing a heel turn, and then working your heel flap back and forth, consuming all of your gusset increase stitches. So here's how the sock looks. Whoops, I've got the needle in the way there a little bit. That's how the sock looks like from the side. And it fits really well. I've been trying it on as I go, and I've got just the right amount of length to the foot. And even though for some reason it looks wide here around the gusset, it isn't. It fits just fine. So really happy with those. So kind of what I was referring to a couple minutes ago is I have really loved this yarn. I really like working on these, but they're going so fast. And I'm almost out of the variegated yarn, and these are going to be over before I know it. So I've been trying to savor them a bit and not doing a very good job. This is the yarn that I will be using for the cuff when I get there. It's beautiful purple, showing up pretty well in this lighting. I find in all my photographs that I've taken for Ravelry, it really doesn't, but it's a really beautiful bluey purple. Will look lovely at the top of this sock. So yes, probably by next week these will be done, and I'm have mixed feelings about that. All right, the second and last project that I've been working on this week is the Snowmelt shawl by Helen Stewart. It was originally a mystery knit along, and I knit the shawl, this is my original version, as the MCAL was unfolding, but I always wanted to go back and knit it again, having more control over where the colors went. And so I am taking part in the Fibernymph Dye Works Make It Your Own Make Along again this third quarter. This for August and September. And once again, my theme is the 4 seasons. And so I had purchased a mini skein set from Fibernymph Dye Works with 6 half skeins of her bounce base in the winter palette collection. So I decided to use that to re-knit the Snowmelt shawl. So this is icy blue. See if I remember all of them. This is sky blue. This is sunset purple. I was gonna say lavender, but I'm pretty sure it's purple. I'm gonna put those down. Last week I ended up dropping one. This is hibernation grayish. This is evergreen. And then there is one skein that's variegated, and it incorporates all of the other 5 colors. So I am now about midway through clue 3. So I'm about 55% of the way through the shawl. I guess I'm more than midway through clue 3, but I'm currently on clue 3, drawing to an end actually. And so last week I showed this to you, and I had used the variegated skein very early on in my shawl, and I changed my mind and took it back and reworked some of it. So here's what I've got so far. I'm gonna cover up my face for a minute. So I left this part the same, but instead of having the variegated skein in this second section, I took it back and I used the sky blue. And then I once again used the purple in the third section there, or second section of striping, but third section of colors. And then what I decided to do is use the variegated skein in this lacy part. And it is striped with the hibernation grayish. It does not stand out super well, but that's okay. I don't mind that at all. And then I've been working this clue in the hibernation grayish and evergreen. So the next section, which will look like let's see, I'm just finishing up this part. The next section is striped like this, and I'm going to be using the evergreen and the purple in this section. And then I'm going to finish off the shawl with the sky blue, and it will be edged in the icy blue colorway. So I'm hoping that that all looks good. I have been not cutting my yarns as I go, just in case I change my mind, which I've been known to do. And so we will see how it looks when I get there. But that is the plan right now. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer so you can see all of the sections close up. So there's the icy blue. Oops. I think when it's blocked out, I think you will see the striping in this lacy section a little bit better. And then this, there you go. I like the contrast in this section. I had planned to do the green, the evergreen and the purple in this section, but I changed my mind. I decided to continue with the grayish that I had used in here. I thought there would be more continuity that way. And I also like the way the purple and the blue look together, and so the shawl will end with the purple and the blue next to each other. So yeah, loving it so far. I really like this pattern. And yeah, just been really enjoying working on it. It's already getting warm here. I can feel myself sweating a little bit as the sun is not directly on me, but it is sunny outside and I am sitting next to a window. Even though it's downstairs and a little cooler than upstairs at the moment, it's still a little warm. Okay, acquisitions. First up, actually all of my acquisitions come from Fibernymph Dye Works. I both signed up for the Backyard Birdwatchers Club 2nd edition, and so I have my skein from that to share with you, but I also did a little shopping on her website recently. I know many of you are as big a fans of Lisa's work as I am, and I imagine many of you have heard some really sad news that she announced the last couple of days. Very, very sadly, her oldest son passed away. And so she's going through obviously a really tough time right now. As a mother myself, I can't imagine anything worse, and my heart really goes out to her. So if you're so inclined, maybe reach out and just give her some words of support. I'm sure they will mean a lot to her. On a happier note, I'm about to share with you the first shipment from this second round of the Backyard Birdwatchers Club. Because I live outside the United States, it always takes a little while for me to get my shipment, and chances are that if you are also participating, you've already received yours. But just in case you haven't, just a heads up that I'm going to show my yarn. And if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you just fast forward a few minutes and then come back and see what else came in the mail for me this week. So you ready? Here we go. So the first bird that is being featured this time around is the ruby-throated hummingbird. And I'll bring that in nice and close so you can see it. So with our shipment, we got a full skein of self-striping. It's a five stripe colorway. There are a couple of different shades of green. There's a dark charcoal gray, a light gray, and then also this really nice red for the ruby, of course. And then it's come with these two coordinating skeins. So this one is the light gray, it's called Wisp, and then there's this beautiful blue-green skein, which is meant to represent the iridescent feathers. So we do not have ruby-throated hummingbirds here. I think it's more typical of Eastern Canada and the US in the summer months. But what we do have here are the rufous hummingbird, which we see in spring and summer, and then we have the Anna's hummingbird, which can be a year-round resident, although quite often after we have a bout of really severe winter weather, they'll disappear and we won't see them again until spring. But hummingbird is a hummingbird, and I love them all, and I am really looking forward to knitting up this yarn. I haven't yet decided if it's going to be my next sock cast on or not, but whenever I knit it, it will be beautiful. So looking forward to that. So that was on Tuesday that arrived, and then Wednesday I got another big package from Fibernymph Dye Works, and I talked about this a little bit, I think a couple of episodes ago. So my impetus for placing an order is that I have sweater quantities in both of these colorways of the Ridgetop fingering. This is soot, and it's a little bit darker than it's showing online or on screen. That's probably a little better there. And then this one is called Merlot. So unfortunately, Lisa is not able to get this base anymore. It was specially done for her shop. So she's gone ahead and dyed up the rest of it, and I thought that I would pick up some colors that I thought might match these skeins in case I decide I want to do a colorwork sweater with them. So I already have some yarns to go with. So I don't really want to take them out of the package, and so hopefully they'll show up okay. So I already have this half skein plus a full skein of warm honey. This is peacock, and then this is wisp. Again, it's that light gray. Yeah, just double checking that I was correct about that. So I thought it would be wise to maybe pick up another skein of the wisp because it's a good contrast with both of those other colors. And then I also picked up 3 other colors that I thought were possibilities. So I will show those to you first and then talk about what I've decided to do with them. So this one is Dusty Mauve. This one's called Habanero, and this one is light blue. So now that I've seen them, I think that the Merlot and Dusty Mauve and Wisp would go together really well. In fact, that's why I ordered this Dusty Mauve one. So I can definitely see that, those all 3 together in a sweater. And then I think the Wisp and the light blue and this gray would also knit up really nicely together. But of course, the others will not be wasted. In fact, I think the Habanero looks really good with that peacock, and also the peacock looks good with the gold, and I can see doing up some hats or other things with those colorways. So they'll be good basics just to have on hand. So I still don't know which sweater that I'm gonna knit out of any of this, but now that I have the actual colorways in hand, I can do a little bit more extensive planning with those. Tuck those behind me, get them out of the way. But wait, there's more. So quite a while ago, I think it was a year or 2 ago, I had got a skein of this self-striping colorway called River Rocks, and I loved it on the tweed base, and I knit the heel-toe do-si-do pattern by Kay Litton with it. Excuse me, I'm just gonna cough. You may notice a little bit of difference in the lighting, and that is because a fair bit of time has elapsed since I had my coughing fit. In the meantime, this room has gotten darker, and so I've had to turn on the overhead light. This room has also gotten quite a bit warmer. In fact, I am concerned that the color of my face is soon going to match the color of my dress. So much for beating the heat, but let's just carry on where I left off. All I can say is it's a good thing I started recording early today. What I had been about to say is that River Rocks is one of my most favorite Fibernymph Dyeworks colorways ever. And when Lisa first released it, I fell hard for it in the mountain tweed base. And I remember when I was knitting up these socks that I thought this combination of colors would just make the perfect striped sweater. Maybe even one that featured chevron stripes like this sock does. So I'm going to bring the sock up a little bit closer so you can see all the different colors. There are 6 of them in all. So lo and behold, Lisa must have been reading my mind because earlier this year she dyed up all of the colors individually and put them into half and full skein sets. I am not sure why it wasn't on my radar right away. I think it was probably because I've been trying very hard not to buy yarn this year, and therefore I have not been doing as much online window shopping as I used to. But recently it came to my attention that one of the sets was a full skein set of mountain tweed DK. And I just knew that it had to come home and live with me. And so now it's here. Let's see, there. Isn't it gorgeous? It is exactly what I'd pictured. And so this is going to become a striped sweater. I don't know what pattern I'm going to use yet. One that I've been considering is one by Andrea Mauve. I can't remember the name. And even though it is, even though it calls for a sport weight base, I'm pretty sure I can do the math and use this DK weight. I have to say though, I still have this idea of incorporating chevrons or rippled stripes into it somehow. I just really like the way this sock looks, but I also like the fact that it just has a little bit of rippling. The back is plain. And so I'm thinking that perhaps I could incorporate maybe a panel of chevron striping down the front, leave the rest plain. I'm not really sure, but I do know that as soon as I figure it out, that yarn is gonna go on the needles. And one really great thing about it is because it's DK weight yarn, it's not gonna take me as long to knit up as the fingering weight sweaters that I've recently been working on. So yes, I'm very excited about that. So yes, that brings me, that is all of the current acquisitions that I have, but I have to confess that there is more yarn heading my way. But I will tell you all about that when I get it. Now, you would think that considering it's the year of the stash and I'm supposed to be concentrating on knitting from stash, and because so much yarn has just arrived on my doorstep, you might think that I wouldn't even be thinking about ordering more yarn. But there you would be wrong. But the reason is because I yesterday came across a pattern that I really want to knit. The thing is that I do not have the yarn on hand that I would need to make it, and would therefore have to purchase a yarn set. So which wonderful pattern is this, you ask? I'm just looking down at my notes so I get it right. It is the Mountain Musings Mystery Knit Along by Lisa K. Ross of Paper Daisy Creations. She had me at mountain. If you've been watching for a while, you know that right out this window here, I look onto a beautiful mountainscape. And it changes hourly, daily, seasonally. It never looks the same twice, and it is a constant source of beauty and joy, and it's just like having an ever-changing piece of art right outside my window. For those of you who may not be familiar with that mountainscape, I'll put a few pictures in here. It is the Shiam Range, which is part of the Cascade Range, which runs north-south from British Columbia to Oregon. I'm not even sure, it might even go into California. I think it might, because I think Mount Shasta, which I think is in California, is part of that chain, as is Mount Hood, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, Mount Baker, which is just across the border from Canada here. If you're looking at the pictures, on the very far left is Mount Shiam, which is the most prominent of the peaks. So, yes, if that weren't enough, I saw all these different colorway combinations on the project page on the pattern page on Ravelry. And there are so many possibilities. Furthermore, I looked at a couple of the past mystery knit along shawls that she has done, and they are exquisite. And I just think this knit is going to be interesting and challenging and beautiful, and I am so in. It starts on September 1st. The pattern is available now. It is available half price until today. So if I manage to get this episode up in time and it's something you're interested in, you may hopefully be able to snag the pattern at half price. But honestly, I think it would be worth it at full price too. So I did purchase the pattern, and now I just have to narrow down which dyer I am going to buy a kit from and which kit that might be. And that's going to be the hard part for sure. So stay tuned for that also. I think I'm just so inspired by the idea of this mystery shawl knit along. All right, other than that, my life has been pretty uneventful this past week. About the only thing of note that I did is one day I spent with our daughter-in-law, helping her get her classroom set up. So I don't think I told all of you that she got a full-time permanent teaching position beginning this year. And it's in the same school that she had substituted at last year. So she gets to set up her own classroom, and one of the things she wanted to do was cover the bulletin boards with fabric. So she and I went out together and figured out how much fabric she needed, bought the fabric, and then I grabbed my cutting board and meter stick and rotary cutter and all that, and we went back to her school and cut out the right shape or the right sizes, and I helped her put them up on the boards. So she's very excited about setting up her classroom, and is completely understandable, and she's getting everything all together. It looks great. So I'm really excited for her. That'll definitely give her and our son, some stability. Now she knows she has, guaranteed steady income at that school as long as she wants it. So that's great. It's actually the same middle school where our kids went to school. And in fact, our son, her husband, that was his homeroom class one year. So that's kind of fun. And then that just brings us to something good. So besides all this wonderful yarny goodness, I was really happy to say that our older granddaughter took her driving test on Tuesday morning and she passed. So she now has her N. Here in British Columbia, you can get your learner's license at 16. once you've had it for a year, then you can take your driving test and then you get an N. And I believe it's for a minimum of 2 years that you have your N, and there are certain restrictions on it, and then after that you can take your test for your full license. So really excited for her. She was taking some driving lessons, and I'm just really happy she was able to get it on the first go, especially because there's quite a backlog of driving tests because of COVID. So yeah, good for her. That is definitely something good. And now, at long last, I know the episode itself is going to be short, but it feels like I've been recording it for a better part of today, in between various things. So I am going to say goodbye now and go and edit it and get this up and running on YouTube. So I say look for it there soon, but of course, if you're watching this, it's already up there. Thank you as always for watching. Have yourselves a great week, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye for now.